彼の残した言葉の中にもあるんですが、いい写真を撮るための最初の条件、これはカメラを持っていることだと。彼が一番思考していたのは、多くの人にいかに写真を撮ってもらうか。
1960年代に前谷さんというオリンパスの技術者がいましてね。
カメラが当時はまだ高級品なので、前谷さんをはじめとする開発の方々が多くの人に使ってもらうにはどうしたらいいかって考えた中で、カメラ自体をもっと安く作りたい。
当時6000円で作れないかっていうふうにできたカメラです。
そして当時高かったフィルム代、現像代を少しでも負担を減らしたい。そうしたらハーフサイズのカメラを作ろう。そうすると倍撮れるのですごく経済的です。
で 35mm カメラの24枚だと48枚撮れます。それが非常に画期的だということで、使われた。ペンが出た時にオリンパスを持って家族写真を撮ったりなんかする人が非常にいましたですね。
主にプロを中心として使う機材が変わってきていた。なるべくいいものを作ろうと各社していて、どうしても大きくなってしまっている。その中で前谷はやっぱりプロが本当に求めるものってそういうことなのかっていうことに疑問を感じて、その中で生まれたのが OM1 だと考えています。
結局彼がこれ集大成なんですね。やっぱりかなり命が吹き込まれたカメラではないかなっていうふうに僕は思います。
When I got into the newspaper business, it was just coming off the time when 2.25 was kind of the equipment preferred. The guy that hired me came from the speed graphic day, the 4x5. As technology progressed, all of a sudden it was accepted that 35mm was great for newspaper work. It's not as physically imposing as a larger camera. The more I become invisible, the more I can become part of the scene, the more the photographic opportunities present themselves to me. The camera, it becomes a productive tool. It's there for a purpose. Maitani realized that, and that drove the original design of the OM. When you put it in your hand, everything was where you wanted it to be. The aperture is right here. My two front fingers take care of that. Other fingers fall back to the shutter speed. It's an enabler, it's a conduit, not an interference between you and what's happening.
1996年にオリンパスは最初の民生品のデジタルカメラを出したわけですけれども、フィルムであろうとデジタルであろうとないものを作るというのは全社共通で、今でも一番ベーシックなところに流れているのではないかなと考えます。
デザインを検討するときにスケッチを書いて最初検討して、その次にですね 3D データを入れてからこのようなラフな削りのモデルを作ります。でこれをベースにボタンの位置が適切であるかとか、あるいはグリップ性能はこれでいいかとかっていうのを検討していくんですけれども、我々が一番に考えていることはやはり使われる方、ユーザーのことです。
There's certainly an emotional connection with your camera. As soon as you pick it up, you know, you have a feeling. It's the design, it's how it looks, and it's how it's going to support you in achieving the image that you want to capture. Size and portability and mobility in photography is a message that we've been talking about for decades. The philosophy of the Olympus cameras is being able to shoot everywhere. We had a photographer go to Antarctica, and obviously you've got crazy low temperatures there. We created technology that enables them to do that. If you were that customer, what would the end solution be that you would want? It's important to always be thinking about what do people need, what are they going to need, what's the future going to be, and to aspire to deliver that.
災害に遭われた方が取り戻したいものの最も大事なものの一つがやっぱ写真なんですね。それって単なる現像された紙ではなくて、その当時の家族の思い出がやはりそこに残っているってみんなが思うので、思い出を取り戻したいという気持ちがあると思うんです。つまり写真にはそれだけの力があると 思っています。
I've got a photograph of our son. I think he was a year old. It's got the catch light in his eyes. Wonderful moment in getting ready to tap the glass. It's not a great photograph, but it's a great moment. Wow, look at that. I remember that. Oh, look at this. You know, raising your kids, the pains and the struggle and the exhaustion and the joys and all these things that occur. What a wonderful confirmation it is of you as a human. This is who we are and who we were.
今でもそのものを作るにあたってはお客様の声というのをすごく大事にしています。マイタリが残した言葉の一つに、我々はカメラを開発提供しているんではなくて、カメラを通じて人々が幸せになることを提供しているんだっていう言葉があります。ないから作る、その精神というのを日々実現しようと、これこそが社会に対するオリンパスの役割だと思っています。
Good afternoon, everybody, or good day, everybody, depending on which region you are. In the UK, it is afternoon, so I'm going to say good afternoon anyway. So welcome back to my coffee time. You can see that today I'm not in my Sainsbury outfit. I'm in my more like an outdoor thing because it's actually quite cold here. I haven't been in this office for the last 3-4 days, so I haven't turned on any heater whatsoever, so it's freezing. I can tell you now. But anyway, it's good to be back. There's a lot to go through today because, of course, I want to talk about Olympus Photography. If you don't know what it is, you have to stay tuned and listen to that. But more importantly, I know a lot of you had entered my See the World competition since the, I would say, was it November time last year? So it's been a while, and finally I have the results for all the categories. But what I'm not going to do is to announce the Photography of the Year award, which is the biggest prize, right? That one, I'll reserve it for next Wednesday's live. I'm gonna have some schedule changes for next week because the guest I'm gonna bring into this channel is humongous, is big. Well, you actually seen him in the video I just played you, the old gentleman, the white-haired gentleman who was in the Olympus video. His name is Jay Dickman. He's an award-winning, well-celebrated photojournalist who worked for US Press and also National Geographic in the US. So he's amazing. So he is going to be here in this channel doing live with us, and he will be also the person announcing the winner as well. And yeah, not just that, he's also the guy who selected the winning photo. so I got some big gun here looking at your photos here. So I'm trying to be as fair as possible. Like I said in my community post and also in the Facebook group, I already said that this competition is amazing. It's very, I would say for my first go, it's very successful. You know, I have quite a lot of entries, and that's why it took me quite a while to actually sort through them and look at them and trying to get the winners out. It's not that easy, to be honest, and because I don't have a big team, I don't have anything, and everything had to be done manually because all the submission, like if you guys entered the competition, you would know that you have to do it manually. You email an image to me, so everything manual. I don't have a system in place where I can do things like kind of automatically, where it just pops up populated on the in front of the computer screen or so forth. So it is quite challenging in that sense. However, it's all done. So I have the winners, and but before I get into that, so first of all, I would like to say thank you for those who enter, and really you've made my day because I always wanted to organize a photo competition, and this is great. You know, this is my first step, and hopefully this can continue for many years to come. That's what I want to say. And also, it's you made it happen as well. Without you guys entering, this wouldn't be here. And secondly, I also have to like to put I'm going to put on the sponsors image here. So I have to say thank you to all the sponsors who, you know, supported this initiative, this contest for the very first time. Olympus, Three-Legged Thing, Lawa, Cozy Speed, Hollyland, Instinct and Per Gear, These are the companies, if you've been following my channel a lot, you know that I've been working with these guys for a long time now. And so I'm very grateful that they have supported this channel by sponsoring the prizes for the winners. So it's great, you know, like I think everybody wins. You know, you got to use their product and appreciate, you know, what I've been raving about over the years about their products. So it's a very, very interesting thing. And I do hope that they're going to come back next year to do another contest, and hopefully there will be more of you joining. For those who are winning, congratulations. And for those who didn't win, please don't give up, you know. And like I said in my community post, it's almost like a split head decision. It's quite a few of the images I thought it's really hard to pick, and it's quite. I now realize how difficult it is to be a judge. You know, I've been judges on you know, on other competition, but the difference is this is my competition, so it's kind of like I have to bear a lot of responsibility in a way. When I'm a guest judge, you know, I can be quite ruthless. You know, that's kind of in a way. That I guess because I recognize a lot of the names in the competitions, and you know, a lot of you already here on this live stream, so it makes my life a little bit more tricky just to see, oh, I know you, you know, you've always been on my channel commenting and everything, you know, because it is heartbreaking if I don't select those people, but at the same time I try to be as fair as possible because this is a contest at the end of the day. But like I said, please don't give up, and it's all great. It's only a bit of fun, and if you don't win the prize, hopefully you're going to come back next year and do the same thing again. And for those who hasn't entered the competition and see all these images and think you can be better, well, I mean, your images are better than these, please join me next year, or actually this year now, 2021, yes. Please join this year, and so you may have a chance to win all these lovely prizes from all these brands that you see here, you know, Olympus three-legger thing. They have really good prices, and like I said, once again, thank you, sponsors. I can't say more thank you to that. Without you guys, this wouldn't happen at all, you know, and because I want to organize a competition, but my personal wealth is not enough to support the prices and to that extent. So so it is really grateful that they believed in me and they have supported this channel all along. So yeah, thank you. So without further ado, right, let's get on with the winners before I talk about Olympus Photography. So please don't get angry with me if your name is not on the list. Please, please, please. I just don't want to upset anybody. So let me just start getting on with the first image. Right, okay. The first image isn't really technically judging by the image quality. The first image I'm going to show you is the editing award, right? So a lot of people actually got a little bit confused about what editing award is. So the best editing award goes to the people who can transform an image, right? Not just about editing, but transform an image from something to another thing. So the best editing award goes to Lee. You're here. I know. I saw you popped out earlier. So this is your image for that category. I can't show you the before because it's in RAW, and so I didn't actually export it in a way. That's kind of my fault. But anyway, this is the resulting image. But if you want to see the before and after, I'm going to create all these images on Instagram so you can actually see it, and also post it on our See the World Facebook group as well, so you can see the before and after, how much work Lee has done to his shot for, you know, to warrant this particular award. So congratulations, Lee. You know, like, you've made it work. I think that you've done a fantastic job in editing this thing. And to be quite honest, for those people who hasn't seen the original of this file, you will not believe it. You know, he's done so much to it, literally transform everything. So I'm actually quite happy to see someone make use of, I would say, photo manipulation to an artistic level. So this is actually fantastic. So Lee, you have done it. You got the best editing award. So thank you. So next one, it would be human category. Right, human category basically is anything to do with people. Can be portraits, can be environmental portrait. But the human subject in the frame has to be prominent. So there you go. We have the winner. I'm not sure if Nat is here, but Nat, your picture has been selected as the human category. So there you go. This is a beautiful portrait, and I think it's just fantastic looking, and it just fabulous in the overall tonality. The composition and also the editing is top notch. I can't really fault it. So that is really, really amazing job. So Nat, congratulations. You've done the human categories. You've done it in justice as well. Very well done. Thank you. So now the next one is landscape. Right, landscape photos. Here we go. There we go. It's Tira. So this is your image, and I think it's unique. It's very, very different. Not the typical landscape you may have in mind, but this is indeed a landscape photography, and he used the color temperature very well to reflect the coolness in this particular frame. And obviously the trees are also fairly consistent, and it just visually interesting. It's because of the blue, it pops into your head as well. So very congratulations. It's actually very, very well done again, and I do love this photo. And the next one is macro. Right, macro photography comes to Timothy, Monk Timothy. Timotheo, actually, yeah. And yeah, we don't have many macro photography entries, so if you guys are fantastic macro photographer, you know where to come next time. But this is actually very cute. He did enter a few as well, and one in particular, I think I cannot remember who did it. He did a similar shot, but enter in a very different categories, and I cannot select that because he entered the wrong category. So unfortunately, I cannot select that because you actually put it in nature, and as a matter of fact, it's actually more macro than nature. So, but anyway, Timothy, you have won the macro category, so congratulations for that. And nature, right, talk about nature, and here it is. Carl, okay, and we have a lot of nature and a lot of landscape. These, I think, the two most popular entries throughout the competition. We have loads of people taking landscapes and a lot of people taking natures. There's a little bit of kind of overlapping issues there, but overall, I just think that this thing, when I look at it in thumbnail terms, it did pop into my head quite well. I love the color renditions there. The way you highlighted the actual water droplets on the leaves are fantastic. I just love that. So it's great. Just overall, it's a very pleasing photos. Yeah. So that's all good. Right. Move on to the next one. It is open category, right? Open, it means anything that didn't quite fit into any of the categories. So it will be quite different. There we go. Right. This is by Roger Hugh. I hope you're here as well. So it's a very long exposure black and white photography, almost to the level of, I would call it, the fine art. And you see a lot of this type of photography, this type of photos in fine art competition. So it's almost there, and you are one of the few that actually use ultra long exposure to create a shot. And once again, because you are one of the few also enter in black and white as well. So I think it somehow did it in your favor, because there aren't many black and white photos in the competition, so it kind of just stood out in a way. But overall, I do think it's a very aesthetic pleasing picture. I do love the ultra long exposure where you can smoothen the entire sea, and the ship wreckage, it just adds another elements to it. So yeah, overall well done, and the tonality is perfect as well. It's quite spot on, and not too dark, not too bright, just in the right balance. So that is quite good. And finally, travel. Right, travel photography, here we go. There we go. This is done by Raymond Aaron. So you submitted this photo for your travel, and I love it. I actually did similar photos back in the days when I went to Dubai. And so well done for that one, because I do like it. It's amazing. I don't know if you can actually see it. There are little people silhouette right where the sun is. So I think that kind of popped into my head a little bit when I look at the photos in general. So there we go. I think well done, and everybody, you've done a fantastic job on submitting all these photos, and yeah, you all made it. So congratulations once again. For those who didn't quite make it, please don't get upset with me. And like I said, it's really cool. Like the overall quality is actually above my expectation, I know that a lot of people didn't submit their work at the end, but hopefully when you see the results of this, that will inspire you to come on to our next competition. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be around about similar time if I do organize one. So it's all good. It's all fantastic. And right, here is a not surprise, but you all know that already. But for those who don't know, all these winning photos that you just saw will have a chance to become the photographer of the year award, which is the biggest prize, like I mentioned earlier. So Jay Dickman had the look at these 7 photos and chose one to be the winning photo overall. So he's already had the answer, and I've seen the answer already, and he's going to tell you live next week. So you have to come back next week to find out who got the biggest prize. And it's really fantastic. So once again, thank you for joining this competition. It's been amazing, and even amazing journey for myself as well. I mean, I spent months and months and months trying to negotiate with all these sponsors, trying to talk to a lot of people, trying to get prizes in. A lot of background work you didn't realize, and I spent a long time doing this. And I have to set up the website. I have to use my own money to do it, host it, organize everything, and so. And that's why I asked for a submission fee. I would like to make it free, but unfortunately, I'm not at that level that I can recoup all the costs. So I'm just trying to break even at the worst case. But it happened. So thank you a lot for entering, and it really made my day. From the bottom of my heart, like last year, a lot went through. I don't want to talk about all the sad stories again. It's not for me to reflect that at the moment because it's happy, right? But a lot happened last year, and I'm still trying to work through it. Eventually, this happened, and you guys made it. You guys made it all happen. Entries, photos, winners, all done. Competition is finished in a way. The last prize will be next Wednesday. Okay, thank you again. And I'm happy. I'm so happy. So I got prices to send out to you guys. Some companies will send you the prices directly, so they're not gonna come all from me. So all those winners will receive an email directly from me. So I will need obviously all your details, your postal details, and everything. Hopefully, I will get it shipped out as soon as possible. And at the moment, COVID thing is still happening in London, and we're still in heavy lockdown. So I know post office is still open, but I don't know how active they are, and I need to physically drive out with the prices. So it may take me a few runs. So I don't want to lock it all at the same time. But I will inform the sponsors about certain prices, so they can send it to you directly from them. And also people from Europe. I'm not entirely sure how the Brexit thing would affect. I'm trying to mark it as personal gift if possible, if it's directly from me, and hopefully there will be no additional charges or anything like that. And but Brexit is just kind of out of my control, so sorry about that if there is anything that does impose on you, but you do get the prize for free. Okay, thank you very much, and let's get on with today's topic. But before I do that, I would like to do the usual thing, because I got too excited. I already announced the winners before I even said hi to all of you, because it seems a bit rude that I always say hi to you guys first before I do anything else. But so it seems a bit rude for me to not say your names in front of the camera. So let me say it. Good afternoon or good evening, we wet. Hope how are you? And Theo and Victor, Lee. Oh, Lee is here as well. And John, Mark, Marcin, Robin, Stuart, Alfonso from Espanol, hello, and Marco, Calvin, Ricky, Jeff, Burn. God, me, I got bad eyesight, I'm telling you. Burn, Ahmed, Steve Page, all good, and Jean, Burana, hello, and Peter Smith, Iswan, Mike McCall, Roger, Mike, and Thomas Falk, and Jones, Navik from Bangkok. Wow, we got more people joining. Excellent. So thank you. So yep, I said all the names that are currently available. So that's all good. So let's get on with today's topic now, and about Olympus Photography. I do write some notes here because it's actually very interesting. Right, I didn't know such thing exists. Well, in fact, actually, I kind of made that up, but I do think it makes sense. Right. For those who are not in the Olympus camp, you may want to hear this, but for those who are, you may agree with me. So let me know about your thoughts when if I say it out loud, and then let me know whether you concur or not. So let me know about that. So when I say Olympus Photography, it's more of an experience of using Olympus gear to do whatever you love. In this particular case, of course, is photography. So it's very interesting for me to kind of say it, because for those who don't know me, I switched over to Olympus professionally 4 years ago. Before that, I was using full frame Canon and Leica cameras, so they are expensive stuff and also much bigger, bulkier system. So I've been using Canon for way over 13, 14 years before I became a Leica M photographer for 2 years exclusively. So I've been working with different systems throughout my entire career. So before people who may try to disagree with what I'm going to say, it's entirely up to you, but or claiming that I don't know anything about full frame or APS-C, or think that I am always been a Micro Four Thirds photographer, or I say it because I'm an Olympus ambassador. So none of that is true. I'm saying only because I say from my own experience and what I feel using the cameras in Olympus terms, and also what I think about the Micro Four Thirds format in general. So this video is about that experience, more specifically to me. But if you have the similar experience, if you agree with what I said, please share your stories as well. Right. So first of all, I would like to say that Olympus Photography is about, it's also said in the video, in opening video as well, joy of photography. Right. This is kind of sums it all up. I would say that in modern day digital photography, especially manufacturers, I can understand that, in terms of sales, marketing, you kind of have to create something for people to talk about, right? And I do understand that, and I do appreciate that. This all business. This all business decision. But at the same time, I'm kind of really appreciate what Olympus did over the years. And of course, this year they're in a new company now, OM Digital Solutions. So I'm not entirely sure the new directions just yet, whether they're going to follow the same directions and modify or enhance it. That's entirely unknown at this moment in time, but hopefully they will enhance it. But I do like the core values of Olympus to keep the joy. Right. How do I define joy in this particular case? All right, there are a few sub-elements I want to talk about in Olympus Photography today. So first of all is affordability. Right, this is important, and I say it because of my own experience. Right, how many of you use other systems like APS-C or Canons or Nikon, Sony, whatever, other system? Right, if you tell me, if you want to buy a system like for like, all right, I don't want you to use pricing categories, but I want you to use class categories, like beginner class, amateur class, or professional class. Right, I'm talking about class, yeah? Like for like, which one is the cheapest? Okay, you think about it, I know people can argue, I can get this for that price, it's also weather seal and this and that, I can get it cheaper. Very much so, if you're using pricing as the only factor when it compare photography. I am talking about class. Professional class, in my case, I'm using E1 Mark III, E1 Mark II, and E1X. These are professional cameras. I had professional cameras in Canon days when I was in Canons, and I also had some other professional cameras before. If I had to buy a professional camera today, whether it's going to be A9, even A7, I wouldn't consider as kind of like a top-end professional camera. So A9 from Sony, Fuji's APS-C, they don't have anything full frame, but in terms of professional, you probably have to talk about medium format. And then you have Canon. At this moment in time, they haven't got the R1 yet, which is supposedly the top-end professional mirrorless camera. And but let's say DSLR. You have the D1, 1D, 1DX Mark II or Mark III now, and then the D5 and D5 and D6 from Nikon. These cameras are the professional cameras which I used to have, and each one of these cameras would cost way over than what I spent on either EM1 Mark III, even the EM1X when it's first launched at £2,700. It sounds expensive, but when you compare to 1DX Mark III, which is the camera I had before, which cost me £4,500, so I saved half the money already. Okay, I will come on to quality later on, but I'm just basically comparing pricing categories. Sorry, not pricing, class categories, not pricing. Like I said, not pricing. So it is affordable. So to me, Micro Four Thirds is definitely affordable to masses. And if you look at the medium level, like the EM5, for instance, which is kind of like the amateur, serious amateurs, which literally has a lot of the professional features from the high-end cameras, but in a smaller package and also lighter. Maybe in terms of build quality, weather sealing, just not as good as the top-end models, you know, similar things. So the likes of Canon and Nikon, they all have similar kind of level as well. So the original 5D series cameras, they're supposed to be like the EM5, and also Nikon will be the D800, D700 for instance, and also in Sony will be the A7 series. So these are the amateur level cameras. And once again, if you look at the pricings, they are easily double whatever you pay for EM5, and so in that sense, Micro Four Thirds is affordable. If you look at Panasonic, they have similar thing, which they are kind of similar competitive price compared to Olympus. So Micro Four Thirds in general, they are more affordable. And let's say let's flip the coin a little bit. Let's talk about lenses. Oh my God, lenses are even worse. So, for instance, my 70-200 f2.8 back in the days was, you know, about the same price as now. But if you want to buy a new 70-200 f2.8 RF mount on the Canon R system or Nikon or Sony, how much are they? Over £2,000, easy. You can get the 40-150 2.8 Pro, which is kind of equivalent thing, and then you can get it for just about £1,000. So again, you are saving yourself half the money. So it is very, very good, and this has always been what Olympus wanted. If you look back into the history, back in the 50s and 60s, that's why they invented half-frame cameras, because they want more people. They want more people to enjoy photography. You know, film photography back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, they weren't that popular. Because it's expensive. It's expensive to buy films. It's expensive to process them, and so it really for people who work in the field to use photography, but not for the masses to do it. But Olympus changed that trend altogether. Invented the original pen camera, which are half-frame cameras. So you essentially chopping the 35 film in half. So let's say a 24 exposure film will become 48, and 36 will become 72. So instantly, you double your exposures. So that means the cost of whatever you're going to do is half, literally. So apart from buying the film, of course, the price of the film won't decrease, but in terms of development cost, printing costs, you know, it's all cheaper. So that really propelled Olympus into the world of photography, and also into the masses. And that's why their pen cameras were selling like hotcakes back in the days. And if you look, just Google it. You know, you don't have to trust me, but if you Google it, you see why Olympus became the way they were, and also why the pens were so popular. Even the trip cameras, and so they were just selling like really massively in the old days. So this is actually very, very exciting for them, and this is more like the core values of them all along, even today. You know, you look into what they're doing today in terms of technologies, all the R&D they were doing. I'm not talking about format just yet. Just about the R&D, looking IBIS, the features that they have in the cameras and stuff like that. They have actually put in a lot of effort into it, but they don't want to make it expensive. Which is what I want to talk about today, is affordability for Micro Four Thirds and Olympus in particular. They are really great value for money for people who want to enjoy photography. There isn't a cheaper way to do it. So it is great for people who may want to enjoy it. And I think, to me, especially as a professional, I do see the value there, which I'm going to come on to that a bit later. So let's look at it another way. And apart from affordability, is the actual features. Right, let's talk about feature here. It's obviously more relating to modern digital photography, because in the old days, there are not much features we're talking about apart from shutter speed and aperture sizes. But nowadays, we are talking about electronic features. And as you can see, as a still photographers, I don't think you should be you couldn't be any happier about Olympus cameras because they have tons and tons of very useful features, right? If you look at a lot of other brands, for instance, even now, even I'm talking about even 2021, looking at these cameras there, a lot of them have only a few selling points. Well, at this moment in time, you see the R system and stuff like that. Okay, autofocus is obviously one thing, but apart from that, they are only raving about 8K videos, 124K, okay, video stuff, but photography, they don't have anything to scream about, and that is a fact. If you look across the frame, nothing. So for people who may want to do something quite specialist, like long exposures, want to just have some fun for macro photography, for the masses, I'm talking about for the masses. And Olympus has done a grand job at introducing these features into the cameras so everybody can use it. Like, you need to switch on to live composite. It takes the guessing work out of the way. You can just enjoy looking at the picture that you create, building up slowly on the screen. Live composite, live bulb are genius, really cool. Then you have the live ND, which is actually fantastic for those people who may not know much about long exposure photography, can have a taste of it. And if they really get into it, of course you can, do it properly, right? And then they have focus stacking in camera. And that's another really cool thing. And for people who are doing macro stuff, you have that feature too. And have Pro Capture. They have a Starry Sky Air for actual photographers. And all these stuff are genuine, useful photography features that none of the other people do. And okay, Panasonic may just starting to have that live composite thing, but that's besides the point. Olympus has done us photographers a great favor over the past 10-15 years. They have given us time and time again lots and lots of great photography features that not many people actually appreciate or take it for granted in a way, because let's say Olympus users know them, but not many other people know about it. So I'm not entirely sure whether Olympus should have done a better job in marketing these stuff. But then, before I switched to Olympus, I never knew that live composite live bulb even existed in that sort of thing. That shows people from the outside, from the world outside of Olympus, would not actually know how many cool stuff that we actually have. And so photography features is another thing that I want to talk about Olympus Photography, because for those who are already using those features, you know how great it is, and also how useful they are for creating whatever shots you're doing right now. It's fantastic, right? I can't say more than just how easy to use, and even like in the basic level of camera, like the EM10 Mark III and Mark IV, Mark II, even like look at the older cameras, they all have these little features, which is and they even have this icon to show you how it works. So it's fantastic for people who just got into photography, don't know much about it, but you switch on to the training mode in the EM10 series. They give you the actual picture itself, show you the effect, so you can actually know what they means about live bulbs, that sort of thing. Great stuff. It's really, really great stuff. And so I think it's really, really cool. So this is more the Olympus Photography in the consumer level. But how about professional, right? For those who are making money, like myself, using cameras, and I can tell you almost a similar thing in Olympus Photography. Well, first of all, affordability. Right, I said it again because it is true. When I first switched over from Canon, I thought changing system would be costly, very expensive. It still is. But then, look, I sold all my Canon gear, which all my Canon gear were better because I use it in the field, I use it professionally, I do it daily, and all my gears are scuffed up, they're not in pristine condition. when I sold it, I knew I wasn't gonna get much from it because it's so used up. And but anyway, so I decided to switch, and so I sold all my Canon gear and get a lump sum of money. And when I calculate everything from Olympus that I need to replace my Canon equivalent, it actually shocked me. You know, when I calculate all of them, I only had to top up a tiny bit of money, and I get brand new set of gear, and that's amazing. That it shows how affordable it is from a Micro Four Third point of view. And I can see the similar pricing will be on Panasonic, will be similar. So it is affordable, and I love it. You know, like as a businessman myself, as a guy, not only just a photographer, as a business, if I spend less money to create the same thing, isn't that the best thing ever happened to any photographer business? You know, like and really is something that I appreciate, because I don't have to fork out another big lump sum of money to buy new gears. And as a matter of fact, I really just a little bit of money, and I got entire set of new cameras and lenses, and that's fantastic. So that's definitely affordable in my sense, and it significantly improved my profit margin because the gear is cheaper. Don't forget, when I say profit margin, because of wear and tear on cameras, and I have to replace my camera usually about 2 to 3 years time, because they will just wear out. And considering the cost of replacing these cameras compared to my older full frame cameras, it's again a lot lower, and that means that my profit margin has increased dramatically because of that. Look, I haven't decreased my charge to my clients because I switched to Olympus or Micro Four Third. I actually increased due to inflation and all the other reasons. So that means I have maintained, if not enhancing, my profit margin because of that. Because everything that I need to, all my tools cost has lowered significantly, and that's why I make more money as a result. So yes, that's right. I think it's a great thing for me. Secondly, because of that, I have more joy in photography in a commercial sense, and so this is the joy of photography I want to talk about. So that's that's kind of weird, but yes, it is true. You know, people always think that you need the best gears for photography business. You need to have you know, the latest and the greatest to be in the business. And I'm telling you now, that's total bollocks. And that's not true. Absolutely not true. If I need the greatest gears and most expensive gears and the top end gear at any one time, I will go bankrupt. And I'm telling you, like, I'll give you a prime example. Not using me as an example. Just use a prime example from a high street photo studio. I remember my brother gave me a gift card for my family photo shoot. So yeah, strange that, because I'm a photographer, and he gave me a studio voucher so I can take some family photos. But anyway, that's besides the point. I do appreciate that, of course. So I went to the studio with my family, of course, and to book a session, and also just check out in general what it looks like. And this high street studio is a very renowned studio. They have been in business for years and years and years. And guess what they use in the studio? If I tell you, you would not believe me. And these guys are making money from cameras, like professionally on a daily basis, like myself. They use, and I'm talking about, like, this is about 5 years ago. 5 years ago. They still use a Canon 400D. This is a beginner DSLR, had only 8 megapixels, and they use it in the studio. They still sell prints like mad. They're still making money from it. So that tells you business people and also professional photographers look at things very, very differently. And because of that, because we are looking at it as a business, we're looking at return on investment. We're buying a gear, can it make more money for me? You know, it's not just about the specs. You know, I know a lot of YouTubers, a lot of content creators on YouTube nowadays, they rave about certain things. Oh, this is what I use to this and that. But in business terms, it's a totally different story. And I can tell you that, you know, I'm just opening up to you guys and I'm telling you the truth. And it is the way we are working. We don't need the greatest and the best stuff all the time, you know, because we know how to operate cameras. And the differences between the camera that I'm using right now, the M1X or M1 Mark III, compared to, let's say, a Canon R5, is marginal. It's so little to the point that I don't think that if I take the shot using two different cameras, you will be able to tell the difference. And aesthetically, perhaps depending on my setting, but let's say if I want to achieve the same photos, and if I print it out in canvas or anything else in an album, I bet none of you will be able to tell which one they come from what cameras, because how we operate the cameras. And also down to the person who actually use it, of course, and edit it. But overall, what a lot of marketing people, a lot of YouTube influencers telling you is usually a false sense of security. And you don't need the greatest to perform the best. Like I always say in the competitions, in photo competitions, you really don't need those stuff to create an image. Look, some of the images I can see that is probably from an older cameras and things. I can tell because I trained to look at things like that. But to me, it's content that matters. It's content, it's the story, it's the composition, it's the actual photography skills that you employ when you took that shot. It's nothing to do with your gear. I won't give you extra point if you use a like 10,000 pound cameras. I don't give a monkey about that. Like all I care is that you take great photographs. You utilize whatever you have, take the shot at the right time, expose it correctly, execute it, compose correctly, and also tell me the story, and finally edit it to the way how you envision the photographs. That's all I want to see. So it's simple, right? Like it's nothing complicated. I don't know why people always complicate photography to that extent. Oh, I need 50 megapixel because I can crop it in. Right, okay, if you need to crop in, you're not close enough. So walk closer or get a longer lens. As simple as that. I know the convenience at times, but that's another topic, another day. But in general, if you have to crop all the time, you are too far away from the subject. Full stop, right? Simple. You don't need high megapixel because you need to crop. That's wrong. That's the wrong way of thinking in terms of photography. And then, oh, I need ISO 5 million to take low light shot. Right, that's not photography altogether. That is sniping. That is scoping. You are doing paparazzi work. That's totally different thing altogether. That is not photography. If you use ISO 5 million to take a night shot, I don't know what that is, to be quite honest. If you need 5 million to see something, that's wrong. If you take night photography, you use a long exposure, you do it the proper way, right? Using faster lenses and stuff like that. And again, I'm not talking about noise level, but I'm talking about photography. And then what about, I need shallow depth of field because full frame gives me so much depth of field. Well, if you want to blur the heck out of everything and then you don't even recognize the background, up to you. But at the same time, you can also achieve the same thing with Micro Four Thirds. People often get the wrong impression about full frame compared to Micro Four Thirds. Oh, it's different. You don't have the same shallow depth of field and this and that, right? It is true if you compare the same focal length. Why wouldn't it? Because it's a crop sensor, right? You crop everything in. If you use a 25 1.2 lens on a full frame camera, if you crop into the same megapixel or the same size of the Micro Four Thirds, you will get the same shot as the Micro Four Thirds camera. So you can't change that. That's you can't really change that. 25 is always a 25, no matter how you look at it. But I can achieve the same shallow depth of field by adjusting myself as a photographer between the distance between yourself, the lens to the subject, and the background and everything. Right? Yes, it is different, but it's all about adaptability, which I talked about many times in the past. And when I first switched from full frame cameras to Micro Four Thirds, I had to readjust myself because sometimes I get used to certain way of operating. Let's say I stand a certain distance between myself and the photographer, for instance. Sorry, not photographer, the subject. So I get used to that distance to create a certain look. But now, because of Micro Four Thirds, and I had to readjust myself. If I want to achieve similar look, similar aesthetic, how can I do that? It's in my head. So like after a few sessions with my clients and a few practice runs, I figured it out. It's all about adapting to a new format. Treat it as a new format rather than anything else. And then you adapt to it. You use 1.2 lenses, you adjust your distance again, you use different focal length, and bang, I get the same shot. So like, it's no arguing about that. So for people who don't understand it, always comparing like for like, the same distance, this same distance, it is total nonsense. And because of that, they just don't understand photography, full stop. And you don't have to trust me, again, because if you look back into the history, looking at people who used to operate medium format cameras, the 120 film cameras, when those photographers switched from the medium format cameras to 135, which is today's full frame, look, the 135 negative is a quarter of the size of a 120. Again, very similar to full frame to micro four third. So the transition is huge. People used to see the certain type of aesthetic on medium format would not happen in full frame. I mean 135. So photographers had to readjust again from how they used to operate a medium format camera to a 135 camera. It's the same thing that nowadays, if you change from full frame to APS-C or to micro four third, you just have to readjust yourself, and then to find out what's the best way for you to create those photographs with similar aesthetic if you really want to achieve the same thing. But other than that, it's still a tool. You know, like people can still still take great photographs with iPhones and with smartphones, with anything that they can get hold of. So there's no stopping you from creating photography. But today, of course, I'm concentrating on Olympus Photography, and I just want to counter argue for a lot of people who always think that we are insufficient, we are inferior in the photography world, and I just think that it is total bollocks in many ways. But at the same time, like I said, I think that a lot of people who always think that the way I said it, it sounds like Olympus or Micro Four Third is the best system in the world, and I always counter argue that again and said no, it isn't. It's just the best tool for me. It may not be for you if you have to constantly taking like I said, high ISO shots. If you're doing paparazzi works, or if you have to shoot in indoor low light stadiums a lot, if you need to freeze actions, that means you have to bump up the ISO. And yeah, perhaps the Olympus Micro Four Third may not be for you, but for a lot of people out there, for people who travels a lot, for people who enjoy documentary works, environmental portraits, and this is actually as good as any systems out there. And so that, in that sense, I think Olympus Photography does exist in this world, because people seem to forget about photography in general. And all they do these days is to compare numbers, and they think numbers are very interesting because number represents photography. And to me, number represents shit. Sorry about my language, but yes, they do mean shit to me. I don't care whether they're gonna be 50 megapixels, 100 megapixels, whatever. Numbers means nothing to me. I just want to see a great photograph produced for my cameras, and as long as I can sell that for profit, happy days. And even for my own project, and I love to capture photos, and I never really question what sort of camera I use. I just grab the cameras I'm comfortable with. I go out and shoot for the whole day for whatever projects that I'm working in, and that's all I need to do, and I'm really happy for that. So that, in that sense, I think Olympus is really great, and I really realized that when I switched over to Olympus, because of what people told me. And this is exactly why I gave you kind of a little bit of emotional talk in a way just now, because I have heard time and time again for people who knew that I was a Canon guy and knew that I was shooting Leica, and always asked me the same question: why did you go to Olympus? Why are you using such a crap sensor? Why are you using such a small format camera? Well, the thing is, I always say to them, look, I'm making more money, if not, from my business, and I'm still selling my images, and they're all happy. Is there anything wrong with that? I never talk back to them about cameras. I just say, to me, I create photographs, and if the photographs is good, it's good. And I always say that, cameras are tools for you guys, and there's no different whatsoever. But just keep it to yourself. I think that what I'm saying today is more a reflection of how I learned about Micro Four Third over the years, and why I think that this platform is a great platform for many creatives and for people, and also trying to re-educate people who may be watching this live at the moment who aren't in the Michael Four Thirds world, trying to understand where I'm coming from. And it's hard to kind of give you an example, a solid example, without showing a lot of work. But I mean, if you see my video in this channel, you go to my website, see some of the photos that I created, and you kind of realize what I've done for a living, and also we appreciate more from not only from business terms, but also from other in terms of pure photography terms. You can see that there is no difference whatsoever between Michael Four Thirds and any other system out there at the moment. I know for a lot of technical reviewers on magazines, on YouTube channels, or you name it, they are doing whatever they're doing because they need to, first of all, sell news, and also they have to do the technical comparison, right? It's easy to compare numbers because art is non-tangible. Artwork, photography is not something you can measure with numbers. So that's the hard part, and that's why you don't need to trust too much or get too serious about those numbers that people have telling you on YouTube or any other platforms. The best thing is, like I always said, go down to the camera store. Maybe a bit hard now, but go down to somewhere, maybe hopefully you have a try with the camera before you purchase, and that way is the best way to gauge whether a system is for you. Like I said, Michael Four Thirds is all about size and compactness. It's still the case. I know people who said that the pro lenses are a little bit too heavy, but look, I came from a full frame background. If I have to use 1.2 lenses on my full frame, they easily double the size, and my 85 1.2, my 50 1.2 lenses, they were a kilo each minimum, and the 1.2 lenses that I'm using on the Olympus, they're only like 400-500 gram. They're light. They're like nowhere compared to the others. I know the premium lenses, the 1.8, are ultra light and ultra small, but for a professional, the whole system weight is still a lot lighter than the larger system equivalent. So anyway, enough said. But how about you guys? What are your thoughts? So I've talked enough now. Let's read some of the comments and see whether we can have a conversation here. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And I see that Randy has just joined from California. Hello there. Right. I have to scroll back a lot now just to see how you guys are doing. And okay, so TA Air. Hi, I'm thinking of buying the Olympus EM1 Mark III. If you do, welcome to the family. And if you have questions, please do ask. I'm sure a lot of people here will be able to help you, because I know that a lot of buddies in this channel, they are very experienced with Olympus gear, so they can give you a few pointers as well. So all good. Ahmed saying my sound are too slow. I did set it to be delay. I'm not entirely sure what it is, and hopefully it's nothing to do with my setting here. Hopefully, okay, right. Hopefully it's all fixed. I'm not entirely sure, but if not, apologize. I can't fix it right now, but I will take a look at it next time. We wet AFAIK, the price of 5D Mark IV can buy EM1X. There we go. Is this still true? And look at that, 5D Mark IV. It's been around for years now. What 3 years now? 3.5 years. I know that. I don't think Canon is going to replace the 5D Mark IV now. I think they're going to concentrate on the RF mount. So the R5 technically is the replacement of 5D. And but yeah, prices of these are extortionate, and it's true that, like I said, full frame cameras are expensive. If I have to go back now, let's say if I have to go back to full frame, I have to use I have to basically dig deep to my pocket to find the money to replace everything that I have with Michael Four Thirds, and that's not the way to do business. And I'm really super happy with my quality at the moment, and all the pictures that I've taken are really good, and I have no complaint with it. And one thing that I have forgot to say, I have done nothing differently compared to my Canon days and Micro Four Thirds days. Nothing has changed. You know, I'm still the same photographer. I still use the same technique. I still have the same brain and same visions. And when I'm taking photos, the only thing that I adjusted, like I mentioned, is the way it works, how I work with the Micro Four Thirds system in terms of distances and stuff like that. And but other than that, you know, it's photography. It's all about photography. Okay. TAA asks, how do I rate the EM1 Mark III? Right, it's cool. It's really great camera. I mean, I have one. Actually, I don't have it right here, but I have one. And the one that I'm using right now is the EM1X, and that one I'm using for streaming at the moment, although it's focusing me very slowly. Okay, so I do have the EM1 Mark III at home, actually, in the dining table at the moment. It's a fantastic camera. It has enough features for whatever you do, and trust me, it has everything that I mentioned earlier about the live com, live bulb, pro capture, starry sky, enhanced eye and face detection is really good if you do a lot of portrait work. The continuous focus is quick. Right, that's another thing that's funny, because I had a conversation with Olympus this morning, and I was comparing the EM1 Mark II and the EM1 Mark III. For a lot of people who doesn't have the for those people who are using Mark II and don't have the Mark III, you may not know. But for those people who have the Mark III but don't have the Mark II, you also wouldn't know. But I have both, so I can tell you right now. The CAF in Mark III is significantly faster, especially in video mode. If you do a lot of video, if you want to do a lot of continuous autofocus using face tracking on videos, the EM1 Mark III will give you a lot quicker results compared to Mark II. And I test them side by side all the time because I use both cameras still. And let's say if I use like holding an object in front of it, and then the switch between the close and far and further distance is way quicker on the EM1 Mark III compared to the Mark II. So in that sense, it is a much quicker, more snappier system in general as well. But all the other new features that on the Mark III and is also quite significant. It may not look it on paper, but it's actually pretty awesome. So for those who are using Mark III, you may agree with me. The enhanced face and eye detection are pretty cool, and also the starry sky AF. So if you do a lot of astrophotography, it is actually pretty amazing. Although, having said that, I haven't even tried a single shot of starry sky AF because of where I live. It's too bright for that, and unfortunately, because of lockdown, I have not been able to travel at all, so like I just don't have the opportunity to try this Starry Sky AF. But I know people used it, swear by it, so I'll trust you guys. And let's see, and I just saw Randy highlight a message to me. I want to propose 50 to 200 Pro. If you want a 50 to 200 Pro, why don't you get the 150 to 400 Pro? Ooh, that beast is still my dream lens. Yes. So let's go on to the next comment. Okay, and Alfonso said, I'm happy with Olympus. Thank you for your continued support, and I'm just saying on behalf of Olympus because I'm an ambassador. And like I said, I do feedback a lot of comments and a lot of stuff back to Olympus whenever someone reported something, and but only in terms of camera features and stuff like that, because they need to know how people's reactions are. And in general, I'm trying to keep it as neutral as possible because I don't want to really be too pushy about certain things, because I know that from a photographer point of view, there's certain things that don't really appeal to me as such. I know people wants to, like I said, people wants a Ferrari engine in Olympus world, right? But that's not going to happen because it's a different system altogether. But it's kind of like it's only analogy, but what I'm saying is something is just not possible, and so I wouldn't be bothered feeding back to Olympus. But for certain things, maybe enhance buffers and enhance this and enhance that, I would just use to feed that back, especially performance issues and these sort of things. I would be able to talk to them. Oh, certain things not quite working well, and these things that hopefully they will bring it to as a firmware update to fix that. So these are things I usually report back to them, but not in terms of suggestions in a way, and but I will tell them what the trend is going. Okay. Oh, TAF. Just notice your comment there. So you're more specifically interested in the Starry Sky AF. No, Olympus EM1 Mark III is the only camera that has it at the moment, and apparently it's very effective. Like I said, I haven't tried it yet, and but if it's something that you're really keen on learning or doing for lots of the time, then maybe EM1 Mark III is your camera for choice. And don't forget, all the EM1 series, or in fact, most of the weather seal Olympus cameras are freeze proof, dust proof, and splash proof, and you can operate as like at really low temperature. I don't know if you've seen the Olympus USA's Instagram post lately, and there's one photograph that will have the EM1 Mark, I think it's Mark II or Mark III, I can't remember now, completely frozen on the outside when I don't know what he was taking, but presumably in a time-lapse shot in a while, but it was so cold as the whole camera just covered in frost. But cameras can withstand that sort of thing, and I tried it in cold, but not to that cold. Cold, ultra wet conditions, and I can tell you that Olympus cameras survive without any problem, especially the M1X and the M1 Mark III. They're fantastic for weather seal. So yeah, it should be really great for any outdoor photography applications. So that would be really cool. And Ray, I'm late, but I'm watching from the beginning. Oh, Victor, okay. Right, let's see what you said here. You got a quite long message here. It's hard because some brands don't have the two distinct categories like beginner, amateur, pro. But in the top pro level, I already found that Olympus is the cheaper one. It's quite easy to say that because I think why other brands hasn't done a very distinctive level is because of marketing. You know, they want to sell more cameras. They don't want that clear line there anymore, just because they want to push you to buy the more expensive models. And so for people who can't really afford it, they will go for the cheaper ones. But in many cases, they want to blur the line so much that you spend more money. I mean, this is how it is. They want you to buy the more expensive stuff, right? You know, this is always the case in any marketing. The more money you can spend on a brand, the better it is. So that's why they don't have that line anymore. And but DSLR still had that line, right? The Canon, like the 500, 600D is still like the really low end stuff, and then they have the middle ground, kind of like the professional APS-C. Then they have the entry level full frame and da-da-da-da-da. So in Canon world, they still mark the line quite clearly. So is Nikon. And but for Sony is quite merged. It's quite mushy. You can't really tell what is beginner or what is middle, what is the top. I mean, obviously the cheapest one you think is the beginner, but it kind of isn't because they have the APS-C as well. And so it is quite blurred. The whole thing is quite blurred, but they also want you to buy the more expensive stuff at the moment. Of course, it's all the full frame stuff, because the 6000 series is the APS-C, and it's cheaper, right? The lenses are cheaper and everything's cheaper. They want you to go full frame, and that's why they kind of blur the line so well, you know. And I have to admire their marketing guys. You know, they've done a fantastic job on confusing people, and they do this yearly update as well, almost yearly update for the cameras to give you even more confusion. Because if you can't get the Mark III, how about get the Mark II for a little bit cheaper? A little bit cheaper. They still make money, just a little bit cheaper, and it is how it is. And but you know, tell me you think differently, but I think that Sony has done really well in terms of doing that, and I think they learned it from Apple. Apple's done it for ages, right? You know, the iPhones, you know, the latest one, they always sell like 3 generations behind. You know, it's like, those are the beginner, but they were the flagship 3 years ago, but they just sell it concurrently with all the other models just to get you to spend the money. You know, in terms of costs, they're making huge profit margin. That's the way they do business, and that's how Sony does it. That's how Sony is still like selling older cameras side by side and everything else. Yeah, the whole line is all blurred now because you can get kind of equivalent performance from the new entry model compared to the middle level from last generations kind of thing. So yeah, it is weird. It is weird the way they do business. Okay. And Chan KS, you love Olympus. Me too. You see, I got my Olympus buff with me. It's really cool, right? I can use this in my face shield when I go out, and I have all the branding going. I got all the branding, including my hat, everything. I can go with an Olympus sniper. All I need is the 150 to 400. Lee, and cost is a big factor for me and ultimately determines if I can buy a piece of kit. Other factors like size, weight are paramount in my choice. Cost, innovation, possibilities are core to Olympus philosophy, and it is true. And like I said, like what kind of surprised me or shocked me in a way that how people could afford like thousands of pounds of gear, like literally every 2 years. I know people buy and sell stuff, right? And but for those who are chasing the latest and the greatest, I'm pretty sure it hurts their wallet quite badly because like every time when a new camera release, they jump on it, they buy it, and they say, "Oh wow, that's awesome! You know, I can show you that it can take 5 megapixel more. I can do 1 frame faster." Like to me, camera these days are, you know, they're just overspec for in most cases. To a lot of people, they don't even utilize like 10% of what the camera can offer you. And like 8K videos, for instance, you know, this is the recent thing, right? Recent big thing. Oh yeah, Canon has the 8K video. Oh wow, Sony just done an 8K video. Oh, Sharp is gonna come out 8K video cameras. So all these are 8K stuff, 8K, everything 8K. But who the heck is gonna use 8K, right? That's the first. And I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disapproving 8K because it is the future, but is the future here yet? That's the thing. Are you prepared to do it? Do you have the infrastructure to support the 8K video editing? I bet a lot of people don't. But the early adopters, people who buy the cameras because they can shout that I have 8K, is totally unnecessary. Okay, if you think that because you got an 8K camera, give me an 8K video work that you've done. I bet none of them actually produce anything in 8K resolutions as of yet. They may just show people that I have an 8K video, like comparing the size of the penis, you know, like that kind of thing. You know, I have an 8K camera in me, you know, and it's not for me. Likewise in like resolution, comparing resolutions. Oh, I have 50, I have 100, I have this and that. I think again is nonsense as well because most people don't print. And like I said, if you're buying high megapixel count cameras because you need to crop, you've done yourself wrong in terms of photography in the first place. You need to kind of re-educate yourself, understand what focal length actually means. If you're using like resolution as a focal length alternator, and that is totally, utterly wrong. And anyway, so that's another topic, another day. So yeah, cost and portability is definitely paramount, and in many people's eyes as well. So for people who really want to get into photography, you know, you don't need the most expensive. Get whatever you can afford. First of all, get whatever you can afford. Don't stretch yourself to the latest because you're getting a camera. A camera is a camera. You don't need 2021 model. Get a 2005 model. Get secondhand. You don't need the greatest stuff. Train yourself. Once you know your photography, then consider your options. You know, and whether you need better lenses. If you outgrow the one that you have, if you want to achieve certain thing that your lens currently can't give you, yeah, invest in better lens. Then over time, if you figure out that, oh, I may need something that can shoot faster because I need it, then get a camera that can shoot faster. Oh, if I'm into product photography and I need to print certain size, then invest in a high resolution camera. Think about what you need as a photographer, not impulse buying, not because you heard something that wowed you, from the marketing material, from YouTube videos, from people who are shouting about how great everything is. Don't listen to any of those bollocks. Just listen to yourself as a photographer. I don't want you to go bankrupt, because of buying the latest and the greatest. I want you to enjoy photography. That's the main thing, right? Just enjoy photography. Like I said in my notes here, the joy of photography. This is the Olympus Photography. It's all about having fun, enjoying your passion, enjoying photography. Pick up the camera without having to, break your arm and back, by hiking 50 miles. Don't have to spend a fortune. You save those money, go traveling, go see the world. It's better than spending every last penny on a 10 grand camera, right? Don't do that. Getting that sort of camera won't make you a better photographer. Full stop. It may make you a star when you stand among the photographer crowds. Everyone will be looking at you because you got the most expensive cameras in the crowd. But that's all you're gonna get. I can guarantee that's all you're gonna get. At the end of the day, it's your photographs that tells everything. Yeah, it's your vision, it's your eyes. It's how you convey your message to the viewers and everything. So remember that. You just don't get too bogged down with the latest camera releases, the specs and everything like that. If you're into photography, if you're just starting out, just getting into it, go around, have a look. Get something that you can afford. Like I said, Micro Four Thirds, it is quite affordable, and by comparison, by a huge margin, I would say. And also the form factor is great for traveling. If so, considering your needs, if you are traveling a lot, if we are the type of person who don't want to lug around a lot of stuff, want to have a backpack that is about 20 kilo with equipment, if you don't like that sort of thing, yeah, Micro Four Thirds, it really is that system for you. And I'm not trying to sell it because I've been there myself. I still have full frame cameras in my cabinet, and but really, I'm not just about ambassadorship or anything like that. But if I'm going traveling now, I don't even take my EM1X. I take my EM5 or Pan F because it's smaller, it's lighter. I go and take the same picture. I just want the lightest gear I can go with, and then so I can have a smaller bag, so I can enjoy myself. I can enjoy myself, my family, my kids. I can run with the gear rather than walking slowly like a turtle because I have so much gear in my bag, and I don't want to do that. So having a light system is really, really gorgeous in my life, and I think that's one of the things that I think Olympus Photography really helped me in a way that I can re-enjoy my life, not only just photography, but enjoy my life once again. I think it's really actually pretty cool. So the next one here. Ro, I think consumers should look at return on investment too. That's an interesting thought, and because obviously I told you about business because that's my business. It is true because every time, like I mentioned, buying new cameras is expensive, and if people do switch, like let's say upgrade the camera every 2 years or 3 years, which is to me for amateur levels is too often if it's 2-3 years, and but every time you sell something, don't forget that digital cameras don't hold values as well as the film cameras did back in them days, and because of the specs increase and specs improvements, and so if you buy a new cameras now, you pay $2 grand. In 3 years' time, when you go, not even 3 years, let's say 1 year, if you want to upgrade to another model in 1 year's time, your current camera that you pay $2 grand will only give you round about 800. Yeah, maybe even lower if you go to a dealer. And if you sell privately, you probably get about 1200 and something like that. But you do lose a big chunk of money. And in that case, is it really worth it? Like you have to think about return on investment, like what you said. So in business term, it's totally correct for me because I need it. I don't want to buy something and doesn't make any money, and if I make a loss because I buy expensive equipment and doesn't make me the same money back, is a bad investment. So in this case, I'm making good investment because, like I said, Micro Four Thirds are affordable. So and I still selling the same price, and in fact I actually increased my prices over time, and I'm actually making more profit than ever because of that. So yeah, I think people should think about return on investment as well, and think about whether you can recoup all those monies and or lose less money. Let's put it that way. Let's lose less money when it comes to upgrading time. So Micro Four Third is not too bad. That's not too bad. And Hogatron, hello there. So the lesson is don't buy Jimmy a coffee. Send him all the meals vouchers. I like that, mate. I like that. Mate. By the way, I have my buy me coffee. Okay, Sean, and thank you for agreeing it. 100% right. If you take into account price, performance, ergonomics is clearly the winner. Yeah, I think a lot of people who are in the Olympus camp would agree with me, right? Because for those who are always looking out for new cameras and new gear, and even look at the latest Sony A1, you know, which is the top new flagship camera. That's six and a half grand camera, right? Yeah, it has the top of the world specs. I'm talking about specs, and but that's what 3 EM1X. 3 EM1X. So in terms of business, 1 EM1X would last me at least 3 years. At least 3 years, even if the quantity that I'm shooting with the camera. It would last me 9 years. And the A1 may last about the same time, but that's 3 times more money. So like, what about return on investment? Oh man, I have to spend so much more. So that means how many jobs do I have to take to make that money back? And even if I don't think about that, but I'm making like at least 4 grand less because of buying a more expensive camera, and I'm not even going into the lenses yet. The lens is obviously even more expensive, so in that case, doesn't quite make sense for me. And then and Olympus, it's fine. I mean, like I said, it's great value for money in that sense. That's why when people ask me for when the EM1X came out, and then I said, "Wow, you got a £2,700 EM1X. Are you nuts?" Like, no, I'm not nuts. You know, like considering like the Canon 1DX would cost 4.5 grand, I'm paying half the price. You know, I'm getting a similar built professional cameras. It just is Micro Four Third. That's it. You know, but that's the only difference. But other than that, it's a rugged camera that I can take to the field without having to worry about anything. And so, yeah, to me, it's a sound investment. Yeah, it's funny how people like really look at it like that, you know, in terms of sensor sizes, and that really dictates whether you know it's worthwhile or not. To me, what dictates the worth of a camera is how it performs, you know, and it's nothing to do with the actual resolutions, that you know, all the other stuff that people like to compare most of the time. So yeah, it's just wrong thing to talk about. And in my opinion, 15, 17 lenses are for self-vloggers. Are you talking to someone else? I think you probably are. I love their focal length, by the way. 15 to 17 are great focal lengths. James, still struggling to justify a pre-loved 1 Mark II versus the EM5 Mark II. Local currency, currently on the 5.2 hobbyist. Well, I can understand why you would say that, but the EM1 Mark II is a significant improvement for autofocus. And if you do filming, and also that's another upgrade because you can use OM Lock 400, and it's a lot of speed bump in general anyway compared to the EM5 Mark II. I think the EM1 Mark II is a fantastic, it's definitely an icon now. It's an iconic camera in terms of Olympus. It's definitely going to go into the history book saying how it revolutionized Micro Four Third photography, and it really is that great. So like, I know it's quite a bit to swallow, but like I said, don't get, if you can't afford it, please don't stretch yourself to do it. But if you can, and the EM1 Mark II is a fantastic cameras, and it is worth that price upgrade because it is that much better compared to the EM5 Mark II. I have the EM5 Mark II here, right here, and I love this camera to bits, but I would only use it for let's say traveling purposes. But if you want to do something slightly more serious and you need the speed to go with it and the ruggedness, and the EM1 Mark II is, yeah, it is that much better, and it's thus worth that price tag for the to start with. Okay, and let's say what Lee is saying here, and okay, people are still saying my audio is a bit low. Let me just see if I can boost it up a little bit. 1 second. Ugh. Oh, it's already in full blast. My goodness me. Okay, let me just change the volume here. Hopefully this is better. Right. Okay. I have my mic here. Maybe it's just a little bit too far. Right. Okay. For my landscape work, I love the extra depth of field one gets for a given focal length. Usually a wide angle lens for me, and you don't hear much about that. Instead, you hear so much about Micro Four Thirds and bokeh. Well, you know, obviously I said that before in my one-on-ones, and the depth of field is overrated. I'll use the wrong terms. Bokeh is overrated, not depth of field. Depth of field is the technical thing, and bokeh is overrated. It really used for certain type of photography, and it cannot be used all the time. And but I can guess the appeal, because people who are coming up from point and shoot background or smartphone background, because it just don't have that option. Even though nowadays you got fake bokehs, but it's a different thing. And so people may just get a little bit excited because of the novelty that you can achieve shallow depth of field, and that so-called 3D pop, and from an image, it, if you're like myself who work in the photography industry for long enough, I've seen everything. It doesn't occur to me that is like, wow, that's 3D pop. Oh wow, that really jumped out on you. Oh wow, that bokeh ball is so creamy. It doesn't really appeal to me whatsoever, and because I've seen too many of these, throughout my career. And for me, like photography is nothing about those. Those are elements that you can apply to your photography, but not necessarily the primary factor that should be included in the photography, if that makes sense. And because you need to employ them cleverly and artistically, not just about, oh, I have that shallow depth of field in my 1.2 lens, in my f1 lens. It's not about that. It's not because you got a 1.2 lens you have to shoot 1.2 all the time. It doesn't work like that. That 1.2 is there for you to give you that extra dimension that you can have if you need it. Not necessarily ask you to shoot that open, like wide open all the time. Is totally wrong again in terms of photography. And also, obviously, having a bigger aperture will allow you to suck more light into the sensor to create better low light shots. And that's all about it. It's nothing to do about bokeh. Like I know that many photographers are drawn into the word bokeh because it sounds sexy, right? It's a sexy word about bokeh. Oh, I can have this creamy big bokeh ball in behind me and things like that. It's not just about that at all. Nothing to do at all. I know it can be very easily got sucked into the world of bokeh, and because everyone's talking about it, everyone is showing you images with bokeh, but think deeper. Take it slower. Just step one back and learn more about portrait work and photography. Is not then you realize that not everything is about bokeh. Remember that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's go into the next one here. And Hogatron actually said back to Lee, and I'm sure the answer Adam and the others F64 photographer would agree. Absolutely. I think that many photographers in the past always stop down to take more details. They want more detail rather than less detail. I'm telling you that details is everything, because it tells a story. It gives you texture in the photography world, and obviously depending on what type of photography you're talking about, but for a lot of things like landscape, documentary, environmental portraits, and a lot of these, they need details, because details are what gives you the story. If you using such a shallow depth of field setting and blur everything out, and all you see is the subject's eyes, and then it doesn't tell much, right? If you go to any photo competitions, like international photo competitions, you see what I mean. When it comes to portraits, and none of them would do shallow depth of field portrait photography. because they don't. It doesn't tell much about characters. It doesn't tell about what they do. It doesn't tell about where they are, where they come from. It doesn't tell anything at all. So why would you use such a shallow depth of field setting to isolate the subject from whatever he or she in the picture? So like this is why when it comes to portrait photography, try to include as much as possible. You can do some kind of subject isolation by doing a little bit of depth of field, so make the subject pop a little bit, but not to an extent to completely erase the story from it. And don't do that. Don't do that. You know, if you do, okay. Right, Ro actually. Oh yeah, that's a news share, isn't it? Ro, wasn't Michael Four Thirds the best-selling system in Japan? Indeed, it is. In 2020, Olympus. Well, in fact, it's not just last year. It has been like this for the last few years. Olympus, not just Michael Four Thirds, but Olympus has the best-selling 2 cameras in Japan, and so Olympus actually done really well. People may have a different perspective in the Western world because. To a certain extent, I do think the I'm just saying from an observer, yeah, not about ambassador or anything like that. I do think that Olympus could have done better in marketing for the Western world, and I do think other people did better jobs. So that's why overall, and they sell more cameras, you know, outside of Japan. But within Japan, they see the core values. They see, you know, because for people who don't know Japan, they have a deep culture of photography. They also understand a lot about photography than a lot of different nations out there. They're also very fond with street photography and documentaries. And so they love depth of field. And because of that, they love Michael Four Thirds. You know, first, it's discreet, small form factor. They love to take it to places. And second, the deeper depth of field that inherent from Michael Four Thirds platform is a plus for that type of photography that they like to do. And third, you know, and the consumer level cameras like the EM10 and the EPL series are just really good looking cameras. And consumer, especially Japanese, a consumer love they're cute and they're also very good looking cameras. And Olympus seem to hit basically everything in the Japanese market. They love it, and they love the design and everything to do with the Olympus Micro Four Thirds, and they just love it. And I follow that too, because I think it's actually very good way that they sell well in Japan, because it does reflect the certain type of photography. Because if you study a little bit more about Japanese photography, then you understand what I mean. Is they do have a deep culture of documentary and street photography. And James, I'm an active shooter and do a fair bit of get a bit of fans, and no one asks what camera I use. Just great images. You said it all, my friend. You said it all. It is true. Ultimately, it's your images that counts, right? And John, interesting news on the Four Thirds rumors about the new Sony 30 megapixel Micro Four Thirds sensor. Indeed, it is. It's always great news to hear something new about Micro Four Thirds, right? And to be honest, a lot of people always think that Sony is the only guys out there that make sensors, but the truth is there are many other manufacturers that make sensors. And I know Sony may be the most known company in the world that makes sensors, and but there are at least 4 or 5 that I know of that make sensors for Micro Four Thirds. They may be for different purposes or different kind of applications. I mean, it may not be for photography. Don't forget, Micro Four Thirds doesn't just exist in the camera industry. They exist in surveillance, they exist in medicals, they exist in any other things. So a lot of them we just don't see. And because we don't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So like, you just have to be very mindful of that. And Micro Four Thirds, because it's the size and the form factor, it does get used a lot in different applications, because full frame is just too big and also too expensive to produce. So it doesn't get used a lot in, let's say, CCTVs and all the other stuff. They don't use big sensors like that, and so they actually use smaller sensors because it's more discreet, right, for CCTV as well, but also for higher performance. Drone photography, for instance, they use Micro Four Thirds a lot, you know, and it's just because overall form factor, it's more beneficial for that type of applications. So yeah, it's always excited to see new sensors. And Daniel M, hello there. Hello Jimmy from snowing Canada. Ooh, which part of Canada are you from? And I lived in Canada for 2 years. I love Canada. And I like to go back because my cousins are still there, and so I would love to actually go back. Hopefully, when travel restrictions allows, and I will be able to go back and yeah, just go and visit. You know, I miss traveling. I do. So anyway, I agree with your opinion regarding photography as an original visual art expression without considering specs, technical awareness. Thank you for agreeing and also sharing your thoughts as well. Thank you very much for joining us. That's great. And right, Randy has another message just popped out on my screen here. Let's see what here. Oops, I can't quite see it just yet. Aki Murata from OM Digital says that there will be more lenses than teased on their latest roadmap. You know what? And it's interesting you mentioned, but obviously that I cannot concur or agree to anything that if it's been reported, then that's been reported. The obligation that I have is I cannot share any information about any unreleased or talk about anything unreleased or anything that is not being talked about or agreed to talk about. Sounds like I'm a bloody lawyer. No, I'm not. But anyway, so it is what it is, and I do know that Olympus is working very hard to get everything working again. So for all of you who are already in the Olympus camp, and just remember what Olympus said to us last summer. And business as usual, nothing has changed, and I can reassure you things are really going according to plan at the moment. I know there are still a lot of settling in at the moment, and so you just have to be a little bit more patient because they are trying to get everything working, and in terms of websites and stuff as well, because a lot of things that you see now is actually temporary. It's hard when you imagine the size of Olympus Imaging. They have to kind of separate from the mothership, the original Olympus Corporation. Everything have to be cut, and then you have to set up and host it in a different server, different things, and the whole logistic is a nightmare. Like even though they had time to do it, but don't forget that they didn't really complete the transfer and everything else like towards the late of 2020, and like you literally just formally completed like last month. So we're still in the early days of the new company, so we just have to give them a few more months, just trying to iron everything out, and hopefully by then we should see what the new company would do for us, and as the new directions and everything like that. But I'm very hopeful, and I'm also very encouraging to hear a lot of the positive news from inside the new company. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. So you guys should be also excited about the future, because I know this year going to be a little bit different. Yeah. Okay, and Marcin, hello there. And I was a Nikon guy, and I'm very into Olympus, but I missed one important thing: dynamic range, which is very useful in hard landscape condition, and not only there. I hope in future Olympus makes it be. I can understand what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, dynamic range is definitely for people who use it would definitely see it. But having said that, and Nikon has one of the best dynamic range back in the DSLR days. That's kind of non-debatable. It is. And even my Nikon didn't have the same. My Canon didn't have the same dynamic range compared to Nikon. So I can understand what you're saying. But having said that, Olympus isn't that bad either. If you look at DxO charts and the dynamic range from the E1 Mark II is actually pretty respectable, and I would say, okay, it's not the best. It hasn't got like 14, 15 stops of dynamic range, but like 12 and a half, 13 stop is respectable, very respectable for most cases. But like what you're saying, and if this is what you need, and I'm hoping that Olympus will deliver in the next generation of sensors that will have better dynamic range, and hopefully high bit depth. So that means you got better gradation. So overall, I just wanted to produce better technical image quality. I guess that's what you mean. So yeah, obviously, there's no denying that better is always better, right? But yeah, I think that overall, for people who may not know much about Olympus or just getting into it, yeah, Olympus sensors is actually not that bad at all. Unless you really need it, have a very specific needs for it, that could be, you know, discussed and a very separate occasion. But in general, photography, portraits, and macros and street photography, documentary photography, I think it is actually a very, very great sensor for that. And astrophotography, I think I kind of mentioned it few months ago now, and the Olympus sensor is very sensitive for a couple of different spectrum of lights. So if you do astrophotography, Olympus sensor actually has an advantage. And I got it from STC's director from Taiwan. He does this kind of weird research that he did, and he's very good at it. And he gave me like a very technical chart about different sensitivity and different light spectrum and different wavelengths, and it showed me that he showed me that Olympus sensor is by far one of the most sensitive to that type of spectrum, and that means you can see the Milky Way a lot better on the Olympus sensors than any other sensor that he's seen so far. So that I will take his word for it, because he's obviously owns a company who produce filters and optics, so he knows what he's talking about. So I kind of take his word for it. Okay, and Roman, MFT is for people who go gym and to train and don't use gear as weight training, but want to have fun taking photographs. Yeah, yeah, fun is you know, yeah, fun is a word that's quite hard to quantify, right? And but for me is being a working professional, you know, been doing it for years now. I know how difficult it is, how challenging it is to work for a full day holding, you know, big camera gear, you know, on a daily basis and each day I have to hold it for like 6-7 hours straight. And I can tell you that it breaks my back, you know, my shoulder. I always get shoulder ache every single time when I go out to do a shoot. And I'm not telling you because I want to sell more Olympus cameras. Selling is not my thing, but then I'm just telling you from my experience. It hasn't happened since I switched over to Olympus, because it is a lot lighter by default. It's half the weight. You know, in general, no matter how much whatever combination I put into the camera and lenses doesn't really matter. It's half the weight easy. And so for that, if I go to shoot a wedding, for instance, and you know, like I used to sweat like mad, and I mean like really drenching down, yeah. And I'm quite a sweaty person, but anyway, but having a full frame camera is an exercise, just to walk up and down the stairs, running left and right, you know, trying to do different angle, you know, you're trying to cover everything as much as you can, that kind of thing. People don't think photography is physical. It's very physical, you know, depending on what sort of genre you are. But for me, if you do weddings, it's very physical. You have to run all the time, and having a lighter system helped me dramatically, and that does make me a lot happier. My body tells me I'm happy. And I think Micro Four Thirds is the real digital compact counterpart of the older 35mm format. I think you're right. I think you're right there. And okay, I've got to skip through a little bit. Mark, I got my TG6 the other day, having fun playing with it alongside with my EM1 Mark III. Do you like the TG6? I love my TG6. It's fun. My kids love it because they can't destroy it. They keep kicking it. My old TG5 is their football at home. They just kick the cameras around, and I can't believe it. But I said to Olympus, yeah, my kids are doing some testing for you, you know, just to test how rugged the TG series is. And then they've been kicking around. If you get damaged, can you send me another one? Oh, as far as I know. Thank you for letting me know, Morgan. Okay. Jimmy, I really enjoy your Olympus E1X firmware update video, and I feel the same, right? Okay, yeah. Did you enjoy the bird thing? I think I enjoyed it, to be honest. I mean, if I have a longer lens, I think I'll enjoy it even more, because my current 40-150, even with the 1.4 times converter, just not long enough to capture the birds from distance. So I have to wait the day until I can afford the 150 to 400, and then I'll be able to test it fully with the bird AI stuff. So, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the firmware update, and so far it's been proving to be a very worthy upgrade indeed. John, I have both EM1 Mark III and EM1X for general photography. Mark III is great for wildlife, EM1X is best especially with version 2 firmware. And the 1X balances better with bigger lenses like the 300 f4 Pro. Yes, absolutely. People ask me questions on a daily basis. Should I get the Mark III or the EM1X? Because they're about the same price. And I always said to them, like, what's the thing you do? What's the lenses you have? And kind of thing, because it does make a difference. The EM1X, even though it hasn't got some of the features that EM1 Mark III has, but it does give you greater balance when using a bigger lens. I know you can use a vertical grip on the EM1 Mark III or Mark II for that matter, but you can't beat the solid feel from EM1X when you're holding a big lens, because it's integrated body, and grip is still an attachment. So like, no matter how tight you tighten it, it still don't have that same solid feel coming from an EM1X, and that's why I have both, and they're all for different kind of applications. The EM1X is definitely for longer, heavier setups, and the EM1 Mark III will be for a lighter, more location shoot type. And when I use like smaller pro lenses like the 45 or 24 1.2 lenses, and this will be really good for EM1 Mark III or Mark II. The EM1X will be like 40 to 150, 300 f4 Pro, maybe even new big beast, 150 to 400. If you have one of those lenses, EM1X will definitely give you much better balance. And Mark also got the 7-14 Pro last month. It's been overcast constantly. London is not that much better to you, mate. It's still very grey outside. In fact, it's been raining all day. Steve Matthews. Hi. New Sony MFT sensor record 8K videos and 30 plus megapixels. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? I don't think Olympus will go to 8K, believe me, and it's too soon for them to jump from 4K to 8K. I would appreciate if they can throw in more 4K features, like 4K 60. That's like a minimum anyway. And I'm hoping that they're going to throw in a higher bit rate as well for 4K 60. Even ProRes RAW in 4K 60 will be amazing. And better still, like 4K 120. I want that to see. Just to see how much it can push the technological background for the next generations of cameras. So hopefully that will be the case. But like I said, 2021 is going to be, I would say, the transition year. The reason I say that because the 2020 is when they sell the when Olympus sold the imaging department. So a lot of things were sold and being stopped and interrupted. So the actual real transition is actually happening this year, because like I mentioned, the websites and all the other sales channels, the logistic, everything is being moved over to the new company. They're still sorting out personnel, and all the other programs that they want to run is still being kind of planned at the moment. So this year we shouldn't actually have too much of I would say exciting or mind-blowing stuff coming out this year. I would say probably 2021, and but this is only my personal guessing, I might be wrong. But 2022 we'll see the genuine new Olympus company coming out, and I'm only saying because I kind of expect that to happen after what happened last year, and I can see exactly what they're doing now internally. So there are a lot of transition going on and a lot of settling in going on. They want to wait until the dust settle, and then they can really try and finally focus on everything that they want to do. So, but anyway, there will be a few excitements, that's for sure, and obviously I can't talk about anything, but it will be quite exciting to find out exactly what's going to happen later on this year, maybe even early next year. So I am genuinely exciting. Core Ascan is saying Starry Sky seems great. Would be great if they could add something like the Astro Tracer from the Pentax K3. People have been talking about the K3 a lot, about the this Astro Tracker thing, and sounds exciting technology for me. And you never say never. It could happen, because it's something that Olympus is really truly enjoying doing. My mic is getting a bit lower again, right, Matthew? I think you know why. I had a suspicion it's because my battery is running low, because I'm running everything wirelessly at the moment. So in that case, let me get it a little bit closer, so hopefully you guys can hear me better now. And right, let's see, is it better? You guys can hear me better now? So I have a mic closer to me now. Hopefully the battery will last. I don't have my bloody cable, so I can't charge it while I'm using it. And do I have one? 1 second. If not, I do have a spare. I do have a spare mic, which is the tiny little thing that you saw last time. That doesn't need battery, so hopefully this one will work better, I guess. And if you guys can hear me, do this. Okay. Linda. Oh, I'm feeling hot now. Linda, is there a book about EM1X which describe all its features and setting in the menu except of the handbook? I'm not entirely sure. People, do you know any book about EM1X? If you do, can you enlighten Lena about the EM1X book? OM Digital Solution has come out with a new 100-page magazine. I haven't read it yet, but I saw the newsletter coming out. So that apparently it looks really good to me. They used to have an Olympus magazine, but they stopped it last year. So I'm glad that they redo it again. So hopefully this is going to continue, because the magazine itself is fantastic. By the way, I'm in an advertisement from Olympus next month, I think, and so you will see me if you buy Professional Photography magazine in the UK, at least. Right, what are your feeling on the special multi-connector Olympus use on the EM5 Mark II? The special multi-connector. Oh, the one that on the top of the camera. I kind of missed it. I kind of miss it, actually, and that's to be frank, because you can attach a little bit of quirky accessories to it, especially the external EVF. I missed that EVF thing. You know, the EVF2, EVF3, EVF4. And even though they're old tech now, but then the ability to attach a separate EVF on top of the hot shoes and also tilt it vertically 90 degrees is cool. I love that thing. I still have that somewhere. The EVF2. I don't know where I got it now. I use it on my Leica, actually, and because it's compatible, and it's fantastic. I love it, and I do miss it. I miss the macro light, the macro kind of bendy lights that they used to fit into that hot shoe thing. It's really cool. Yeah, I have a little bit emotional feeling for it. But so when they lost it, and I thought, why did you lose that thing? But I guess it's not something that they sold a lot, to be quite honest, and then so it didn't quite make sense to include that port, because first increase the cost, also makes it less durable because you've got another port to look after, and this is something that they don't want to. So I can understand why they didn't want to include that for further models, and so unfortunately the EM5 Mark II was the last model that actually was it Mark II, Mark III? Can't remember. Anyway, so the multi-connector thing, and yeah. So standing stuff is here. Hello there. 8K video simply nowhere to watch. Nope, definitely not. Right. A friend wanted to buy a very expensive Canon DSLR. He said he didn't understand all that technical stuff, but only use auto mode. I said buy TG5 and some decent editing software. He's happy bunny. Well, which happens a lot. I'm telling you, the people. There are so many people who didn't quite understand photography and trying to get into it, but they have a little bit of money to spend, and but that's the result. When people don't understand, they have the money to spend. That's when they get lured into the expensive stuff from the marketing people. But that's the market, right? And that's why, otherwise, marketing wouldn't exist. Yeah. Okay. Stanley stuff saying, I film sports in 4K. It looks weird. High resolution, fast movement, out of human visual perception. Yeah. I mean, I use 4K but I do downsample in post to 1080 for my clients, and because they never really ask for 4K. I just use 4K to record because I can have just more detail when I'm downsampling to 1080. But yeah, in general, I just think that 4K is really good, and I think that it's a good base to have. I know 1080 is good already in Olympus, but if you shoot ProRes, I think 4K in the 4K world is actually very good. You can get more details from it, and you can always downsample to 1080, just to get a little bit more richer details in the shot. But yeah, cinematic stuff 1080 is actually great. I love actually the look and feel of 1080 videos, to be honest. And Robin, hello there. Never be an early adopter. You can save a bunch with what's been out there within a few years. Plus, most of us are not doing photography as a living. You are absolutely right. I mean, like I said, you can even get secondhand models for a lot less. If you're just starting out, there's absolutely no point of getting the latest and the greatest. You know, it's going to waste a lot of money. And but people, when people get invest a lot in the camera body itself, and I always say to them, unless you just have too much money to spend, you're gonna waste a lot of money. First of all, if you're new to photography and you get the top end model, if you don't know how to use it, you're gonna waste absolute 99% of the camera's capabilities. And by the time you do learn something about photography, new model came out, and then you have to sell it and get another great one, and that means you're going to lose a ton of money but for doing so definitely not a great return of investment that we talked about earlier. So yeah, just think deeper and see what you need. Remember always about what you need as a photographer. Yep, I know want is a thing, but need is a bigger thing. Olympus EPL5 is €170. How many cameras you can buy for that money now? Sony A1 body. Yeah, EPL5. You know what? One thing I still love is the EPL8. I think that's probably still, if it's not overrated. I think EPL8 is really a great, fantastic camera. It's metal. It's got the multi-connector port still there. You can use an external EVF. Even though it only has 60 megapixel, it has only 3-axis stabilization, but it's a great camera. It's a great little camera. I love it. I love that little thing. Oh, Carmen is here. Hi, Carmen. How are you? The Olympus is great. I use Canon Pro, Nikon, and they are great. Pentax is equally great and still use it, but the EM10 Mark II is also a great go-anywhere kit in a Billingham digital bag. You have your digital Billingham bag. Wow, I love my Billingham. As you know, if I can swing around my camera, you probably see a lot of them on my shelf there. I have about 12 just in the shelf there. I love my Billingham. I just go nuts with them. And but anyway, yes, the EM10 is actually a fantastic little thing. I have both of them actually there just behind the EM1X. They're lovely. Rolf, walking around with a full frame camera today is like walking around with a Hasselblad in the analog times. At the time, Pentax and Olympus were the smaller single reflex lens. Yes, absolutely. You know, people love the OM, the original OM cameras, and also the Pentax K series SLR were really tiny, weren't they? They were really ahead of the time in terms of compact cameras concerned, and also the lenses. And they are so small, but at the same time, really great lenses as well. All the 2.8 lenses, the 28 2.8 is fantastic for OM cameras, and all the 50, 51.4, 1.8 lenses were absolutely gorgeous. Even the 55 1.2, I kind of dig that thing. You know, it's a little quirky, it's a little vintage look, but I just love that the aesthetic, the overall rendering of that lens is quite magical. The 55 1.2, but it's just a bit too big for the actual camera itself, because you know the OM is quite a small compact camera, so the 55 1.2 is a little bit heavy by comparison to the other 1.4 and 1.8 lenses. Right, what's Lee saying? I have that hat and the glasses. I want one of those face mask thing, and then this. Get a better lens before getting a new body, and that's the mileage that in that saving you too for more coffees. I think you are too right, Carmen, and nothing wrong than investing in a better lens than a body. Always, because the lens will stay with you for way longer than a camera would, and you know, it's always a general rule of thumb when you come to photography investments, and always investing in good lenses than the body. If you have spare money, get a better lens. That's my 2 cents about things. And or in Carmen's term, 3 pennies. I remember you, Carmen, you said that. Okay, and hand to bottle. Wow, love you what you do. Me, thank you very much. I'm blush now. Thank you. I'm blushing. Roman, Jimmy, your business YouTube strategy is wrong. You should pursue two Milo people to buy the most expensive with your affiliate links. You can afford all those lenses. Yes, I have affiliate links in my descriptions, or you can buy me some more coffee. Thank you, Roman. Yeah, I know. I'm just too honest. I'm too honest. I'm not selling cameras for Olympus. God damn it, you know. So from now on, guys, just buy everything from my affiliate links so I can earn a ton of money, so I can afford the 150 to 400 Pro. I need that lens. I need that lens. So I don't have to sell my kidney for it. How's that? Right, I'm nearly towards the end of today's conversation. Okay, that's great. I'm just skipping through a little bit of things here. Smart picks, right. Perhaps the marketing could have been better, but Olympus UK team have been brilliant. I absolutely agree with you guys. Olympus UK has been so good through the pandemic months that they have last year. They do lots of live session completely free. Seriously, they didn't have to do that, but they did it, and then it's so great. You know, like I admire for doing that. You know, even though the turmoil that they had to endure last year, but they did it for the sake of photography, for the sake of teaching people about the gear, about photography in general. It's just amazing. You know, I love them. You know, I'm not saying that because I'm part of the family. I'm saying because they've done photography community a great thing. You know, I saw every time I saw their live. I noticed a lot of people who don't even use Olympus gears, but they were there. They're tuning in because they want to learn a few things, and that's so good about them. So, Olympus UK team. You know, for even those people who are not in the team anymore, you know, you guys have done a fantastic job. If you hear this message, you know, you guys were great. You know, just you know, my hats off to you guys. You guys have been fantastic for that. So thank you for that. Robert, okay. I'm in 2 minds to sell my E1 Mark II. I love the camera, but I'm not sure the future of the brand. Please make my mind up for me. Well, I can't make the mind up for you, but all I can say is that no matter how you look at it, cameras will last you for a long time. And I know new tech comes along, but like I said so many times now, and they are tools for you. And ultimately, do you want better resolutions? Do you want shooting faster? Does that matter to you? If not, if your sole purpose is to create an image, let's say, oh, I don't think you need to go anywhere. The camera will probably still perform in 10 years' time. Your lenses will be as great as ever. So in that case, I don't see the point of going anywhere. It's not just about the brand anymore. It's about how you want your tools to give you. And if it gives you the images that you want, and yeah, just be happy about it and just go and shoot. That would be my advice. For me, being an Olympus boy for a few years now, and I could say that I'm confident about the whole situation. So, like I said, I have talked to Olympus still, and I know that they are working and everything's still going according to plan. That they're still following the research and development. That means we should see new products coming out very soon. In that case, I wouldn't be worried too much. So that would be my comment about your comment. Okay, great stuff. Oh, Daniel M is from Montreal, Canada. That's good. I've been there once, only once. You guys speak a lot of French, right? And because like Quebec, and I love that place. Montreal is very classical look. I like it. I like it. Very European in a way. Very, very European. Dave Nelson, what is your number one way to limit noise in low light situation with Olympus camera? Right, good point, but more of a photography thing. So I would probably serve it as an additional content for my future video. In short, look for light. Look where the light is, and then you would have to create that with light. In many cases, if you shoot in a very dim situation, when I say dim, there's always going to be light. So you always aim for that. Try not to push the ISO to compensate the shadows, and that's what I would like to say, because that's the wrong type of way of looking at an image. So always determine what you want to shoot first, and to see whether you can compose it in a way where the light is. That will give you a much better quality to start with, or best base to work with. Otherwise, you are going to rely on ISO to bail you out in any situations. In that case, you are going to introduce noise regardless, because you are trying to push it, and that's not really something that I would advise people to do in low light photography. I shoot low light a lot because of the nature of my business, the wedding photography, and a lot of portrait works that I do, and documentary. I do shoot low light like a lot. So trust me, you first learn to look for lights. That's all I would say to you guys. Okay, let's see the next comment. Thank you for that. OM Digital Solution came out with 100-page bank. Oh, no, hang on. I see that. Yes, absolutely. I'm starting to mix up a little bit now, my comments. Sorry about it. Casper, how are you? Hi, it's great to see you again. Right, I am nearly there. I'm nearly there. Willy Billy, hello. Great to see you back again. Oh, Tong, hello there. True. Shooting in mid-noon is no fun. People who sweat a lot. That's when. Oh, you remember you were there too. That's great. Yeah, Tong was been with one wedding, and that was fun. I missed you, man. I hope that you're back in the UK. Right. Okay, guys. Very well done. I think I am reaching the end of the comment section now. Nearly caught up with most of them. Okay, Jimmy, you have also cost me the price of billing them back. Which one did you get? Which one did you get at the end? Did you get the Hadley Pro or any other models? But they are great though. They do last you forever. Nat, thank you for joining me. Did you know that you just won the human category? I hope you did. If not, I'm telling you now. If not, that you'll receive an email from me soon. Wow, great stuff. Okay, I have caught up with everything, and I know it's getting a little bit late, so so I will gonna wrap up now. So hopefully, you guys have enjoyed today's live and talk about Olympus photography, and hopefully everything makes sense. Oh, Hadley One, I just saw your message popped up. Hadley One is a great bag, and so. I'm not sure whether you agree or disagree with me about certain things I talked about today, and hopefully they do make sense about the joy of photography, about Olympus photography as a thing, and because we Olympus photographers know what to concentrate. We concentrate on making photographs, making sure photography is the essence of our passion, not about numbers and specs and stuff like that. Because we often get looked down and being bashed by other people who are the number crunchers who like to compare numbers and stuff like that. But I can tell you that being a professional who use smaller cameras in the industry always get questioned about my abilities and stuff like that. But I always said, you don't have to worry. I'd never really try to reply them in such a way that saying that or trying to have an argument with them. I just said, look, my client chose me to be their photographer for a reason, because they like my images. And if I can create an image with whatever tool I use, that says it all. I don't really care what camera, what size I use. Whether my camera is going to be like a gigantic thing or going to be as tiny as a point and shoot, doesn't really matter. As long as I can create my image that my client loves, that's all I care. So then every time I say that, they shut up. They just shut up. So that's that would be my answer to most of these people. But anyway, and so don't worry about too much about everything. Remember, enjoy your photography is the main thing that you can do, and follow your passion, and utilize whatever tool you can grab hold of. And if you're already in the Olympus camp, congratulations, you're part of the family. We have a lot of things together, and we have been through so much together as well through the years. And Michael Forther is not going away anytime soon. We are still together. We're going to continue even more lovely images. And remember to join my group, See the World on Facebook. See the World on Facebook. Remember, share your images there, capturing around the world. And also, photography competition. I know it's ended this year, but this year, 2021, I'm hoping to get another one going. And so it's all down to you. It's all down to you. Remember, practice, passion, everything to do with photography. And join me for another chat next week. Next week, special next week. Remember, my next live next Wednesday is going to be delayed in terms of time. It's not going to be 3 p.m. London time, because I have to adjust the time for my special guest, who is coming online with me live to announce the Photographer of the Year award for my competition. At the beginning of this live stream today, I talked about Jay Dickman. He is going to be my special guest who is going to come and join me. And so get some question ready, and I'm gonna post on my community page on YouTube. Stay tuned for that. I want to see some of your questions. You want to ask Jay about photography in general. He's an inspirational figure in the photography world. He's a National Geographic photographer, a prize winner, a well-celebrated and awarded photojournalist. So please do drop some question down, and then so if you want to ask him about anything, how he started photography, why he chose Olympus, everything that you want to ask him, anything, leave some comments in this video and also in the community post I'm going to set up in the next day or two. And stay tuned for my announcement for the time start for next Wednesday, because it's going to be special. Jay Dickman is in the house. This is going to be really awesome. So remember that next Wednesday, Jay Dickman will be here live with you guys, talk about photography. He's also going to be the announcer for the Photographer of the Year for my 2020 See the World photo competition. Fantastic. Great stuff. Okay, and thank you very much for all of you. And I know some of you just literally joined me, and so it would be rude for me not to say hello, right? Hello, Edward. Greeting from Miami. And just to let you know that I enjoy your videos and your passion for Olympus. Remember, we listen to you here at the other side of the pond. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much for your support all along. And also as an Olympus guy as well, right? And Matthias, no, please don't leave us. Sorry. Good time has to end as well, but I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this live stream. And come come back next week. I'm gonna have another one next Wednesday. Remember, the time will be starting slightly differently next week, and I will post all the details on the community page. You will see the thumbnail pops up. So if you guys haven't already subscribed, remember to subscribe and also to put on the notification so you know when I post a new update on the website. So yeah, that's all I want to say. So thank you very much for you guys, and remember, enjoy photography, right? That's all that matters. Enjoy no matter what gear you are, no matter what brand you use. We are photographers, we are a community, and I know pandemic has caused us a lot of problems, but that didn't stop us from creating. Enjoy the rest, enjoy your day, and have a good day, everybody. See you soon. Bye for now.